Welcome to Docs Outside the Box podcast. This is your official show, looking inside the minds of cutting-edge and innovative doctors. Think you'll find these stories in any medical textbook? Sorry, you're getting real life insight from men and women pushing the envelope beyond medicine. Ordinary doctors doing extraordinary things. Let's start now with your host, Dr. Nee Darko.
What's good, everybody? This is Dr. Nee Darko here with another episode. This is a little bit of a different episode. I'm here with Dr. Wendell Cole from Convos with Cole podcast, man. What's good, man? How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm great, man. I'm happy to be here. This is like the impromptu episode. Just came up,
man.
Just pulled out the microphone, so I'm happy to be here and happy you took out the time to speak with me.
Yeah, man.
Honestly.
So tell the audience how we are talking right now, because it's pretty unconventional,
yes, right.
But I like your style, man. Tell us how we did it, man.
So we're actually in a restaurant that I've actually never been in, the Whiskey Blue. It's a great view. It's very cold outside. And
in Atlanta, yo.
In Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, Georgia. Well, in Buckhead. And we're in the restaurant right now, and we're literally sitting. There's music going on in the background, people talking, and we're here having a conversation.
Right, but we never met before this.
No, first time.
Right, we connected through Instagram and Facebook.
Yep, social media.
But I'm here for the Momentum in Medicine conference hosted by Dr. Dre.
I saw that, and I said I cannot let you go by without reaching out to you and trying to see if I can meet up.
And you sent a message. I'm like, who just contacted me? But I like the hustle. You contacted me, said, is there any way we could meet over the next 3 days? And I was like, you know what? Let's do it tonight. And you came down, so.
And thank you again, man. I really appreciate it.
Tell the audience a little bit about you, man.
So a little bit about me. I'm actually a fourth-year medical student at Morehouse School of Medicine. I matched into orthopedic surgery recently, so I'll be taking my talents to New Orleans very soon.
Little LeBron James thing, taking your talents.
Bit,
okay, all right.
Talents. And I will. I also have a podcast as well, Convos with Cole.
Let's hear about that, Convos with Cole. And you are interviewing some heavy hitters, yo.
Hey, man.
Okay.
I appreciate that. And the goal is not necessarily always interview heavy hitters, just because everybody has their own story, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Not everybody is president or CEO of this company or whatever it might be. But the goal is just to interview somebody that's successful in their own specific way.
Right.
So for those of you that are listening, I typically do longer style interviews. And the goal of my podcast is to help you have the tools and the habits and the mindsets to be successful. So what I do is I interview people from all different walks of life. Some include CEOs, some include photographers that are international, some include sports figures, people from all over. And we try to find out what have they done that's made them successful, what works for them, and then specific actionable things that people can use and implement in their daily life.
I like that _ actionable, because that's the thing. Because sometimes, people have, these really, well successful people on their shows, and in essence, it almost becomes like a brag fest.
Right.
And you really can't get anything relatable or actionable,
right?
From the guest. So I'm really glad that you do that on your show.
Yeah, that's a goal. I want somebody to, after they listen, there's something they can do and that they can search up. Like,
that's what's up.
I was listening to one of your episodes that you actually sent me with the real estate. He did real estate out in California.
Yes.
And he had his company. After I listened to the episode, I looked up his company, and it was something that I could actually tangibly do and kind of go and learn more about. So I appreciate those things.
That's what's up, man.
In any podcast.
That's what's up. So look, audience, we are actually, the reason we decided to record this is my man contacted me, and he wanted to, in essence, kind of pick my brain, talk about, what makes Docs Outside the Box kind of work. And we're going through a Q&A, and I decided to put this on, in essence, I guess, proverbial wax.
Yeah.
Proverbial wax, and record this. So the question that he had for me is, we're talking about downloads and numbers. So ask your question, man. Let's talk about this.
I want to rephrase my question a little bit now.
I'm trying to change it up now.
What do you think it is about you that has made your podcast successful?
So I think, and I learned this from Raina Campbell. She hosts a podcast called Dreams and Drive, which is a really good podcast. People who are listening, you guys need to be listening to this podcast. But in essence, she said that the only person who can tell your story the best is you.
Right.
You are your best story. And although I discovered her after I started my podcast, I just kind of grew tired of playing the game. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel of just getting credentials and getting degrees and not really seeking fulfillment. So it came to a point in my life where I just got tired of just kind of every 4 or 5 years of moving, starting, at a new position. And I just wanted to do something for myself. I wanted to just do something where this is Dr. Nee's job and so forth. So, podcasting for me was just like a natural transition for me. But I said, I'm going to own this, right? So I'm going to interview doctors who are doing extraordinary things outside of medicine, but I'm going to do it my way, right? Because you can have anybody interview doctors who do things outside of medicine. The key things are, why do they want to listen to you, right? So for me, I just said, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to express myself the way how I normally express myself. I'm going to be who I am because I've gotten all the degrees. I've gotten all the credentials. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. So what I like to do is I like to talk to people. I like to keep it fun. I like to talk about hip-hop. I like to talk about the New York Knicks. But also at the same time, I like to talk to doctors who are doing really cool things.
Right.
And for me, I think that's been the winning key right there. The other thing, too, also is I let my audience know about my successes. And then also at the same time, I let them know about my failures. And I think more or less, I talk more about my failures. And I think that's also relatable because I think oftentimes people think that you have it all together. And to some extent, we're all just kind of just keeping it together as best as we can, right? I think that type of message resonates with people more.
So almost in a sense, it's like being open and not being afraid to hide anything. And just being letting everybody see you for who you are, and people fall in love with you.
Absolutely.
Is basically is what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Absolutely. And that's a big stretch for me because I'm a very private person. Prior to the podcast, I wasn't on Facebook or any other social media consistently. And even still to this day, sometimes I struggle with sharing with the audience. But also at the same time, I know that, I feel like there's a lot of knowledge that I have, in the world of locums. I feel like when I interview people, I feel like there's a certain level of de-arming that I'm able to do with them. And then also at the same time, the people that I interview, that I put on the show, these are people that I would normally want to learn something about anyway.
Right.
I might as well put that on wax and let everybody else learn from that also.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you didn't really know much about Facebook. You didn't really know much about social media starting off. So do you have any keys or any tactics that you've used to help grow your audience?
So the big thing too is you'll realize now, because you're going from med student to being a physician, is the time is going to be really, really difficult. Your time is not going to be yours. So being able to really work on your podcast, find guests, record, edit, and then also at the same time another animal is actually doing social media for that, it's going to be pretty difficult. So I've learned ways to kind of automate the process. I've learned ways to kind of find people to kind of help me with that. The big thing is just to know that you can't do everything. So
when you say you automate it, are you saying you use virtual assistants, or you have a company, or what do you do?
So at times I use virtual assistants. Excuse me. There are times when I use Meet Edgar or other type of automated, social media stuff. But also a lot of times it's just me, just whatever comes off my dome piece, whatever I'm thinking about, I'm putting it out there and I'm pushing it out. Another thing that has been really, really helpful for me, audience, you guys really should be listening to this. You guys really should be doing this, is live streaming.
Yeah.
Live streaming is really good on Facebook, is really good on Instagram. And in essence, that's the new media. That's the new media, right? The new media was just anything on the internet. But literally, the audience being able to see what you're doing in a live standpoint, in a live situation, is really compelling. I mean, in essence, that's why you're seeing all these reality TV shows, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I try to live stream with recaps about my show. I live stream about things that I'm doing with the show, like recaps, as well as with giveaways and things like that. And that seems to resonate with the audience well.
Great. I love that live streaming and
but you live stream too, though.
I do. So we were just actually talking earlier about the Gary Vee style and just coming out with this massive content.
Right.
And, just giving people access is one of the things that I've learned that a lot of people want. Access to you, access as a person. And while you're live streaming, people can ask you questions. They have more access to you.
Right.
One of the things that I read, I forgot if I read or if I watched a video, is Gary Vee was talking about how he had a book and he was giving away different incentives when people bought books. And one of the things that he said that he found out that worked very well for him is when he gave people access to him, not necessarily providing more content to the people, but like, hey, like he said, hey, you get a 5-minute video FaceTime with, Gary V, or you come up here and I'll come down here and help you out. And I think that what most of the people want is to be able to, of course, depending on the person, but to be able to access you and to be able to speak with you and know that you're like another human being just like them.
That's the key. What you just said right there, that's the key. I think people want to know that the superstars or people that they watch on TV or people who they see, that we in society would normally put on a normally put on a pedestal, that they're just normal folks. Like, think about it. You know who's on YouTube killing it right now, right?
Who?
Will Smith.
Yeah, really?
Right? And he just started either earlier this year or very, very late last year. And he's a superstar, $20 million a movie, A-lister, who every, 2-3 years will put out a movie. But he's on YouTube. The reason why is he knows that old model is gone.
Yeah.
He needs to be out there having access to people. People need to have access to him. People need to reach out to him, asking questions. People want to know about his daily life. Because nowadays, if you're not in the limelight within a year, or, definitely if you're not in limelight 2 years, 3, like those old days of being a superstar and being able to come back and put a movie out every 4 or 5 years are gone.
Yeah.
It's what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
So, you look at like someone like even LeBron James, the reason why he's so successful is, he's just in social media so much. You get to see his wins. You get to see his losses. Like, can you imagine like Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Like now with all of his
success and
with all of his success and a lot of his deficiencies that got swept under the table. But imagine that if he lived in the social media world, like how big of a deal that would be,
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think that technique of basically kind of putting yourself out there and letting people have access to you, whether it be through questions or, social media, what have you, I think that's the way to win to people trusting you more. I know your big question was, how do you get your downloads up? And what I was trying to elicit from you was, well, why did you start the podcast?
Right.
Right. And I think one of the answers you gave to me was that you wanted to know how these successful people became successful.
Right.
And what I got from you is that you said you wanted to know that.
Right.
Right. So that's something that you wanted to do. You just so happened you just wanted other people to hear about it too. Am I correct?
Similar. Yes. Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So the key things is you got to fall back to what your passions are. And that's my advice to anybody who's starting a blog, anybody else who's starting a podcast, anybody who's starting a YouTube channel, and you're starting off and you're not getting many downloads, you're not getting many, visits through Google Analytics, is remember what your passions are. I liken it back to Gary V. If you look at some of his videos when he was making videos for wine libraries, till this day, some of them still only have like 100 views on them. The key things are he kept doing it over and over and over and over again, to the point where he's become such an expert on talking and obviously, talking about himself and talking about so many different things. He's an expert at that. So at worst case, you don't get many downloads, but you've gotten to talk to so many different heavy hitters,
right,
in so many different industries. It's going to be beneficial to you. Then also talking on a microphone and learning editing skills. You're going to learn all these different things that are going to be so beneficial to you also. Now, if you want to get more downloads, now obviously we can talk more about that, but that is, getting out there, talking more about your podcast, telling people about your podcast, grabbing their phones, signing them up, subscribe to my podcast, cross-promotion like we're doing.
Right.
So I would say focus on the number 2 things, those top 2 things, and then growing the audience, I would worry about that last.
Because I actually think that's the first thing you told when we first connected on Facebook, and you found out I podcast, I found out you podcast, and I was asking you for tips. First thing you said was just to be consistent. That's the first thing you said, just consistency, just keep putting out content, and just keep putting out content. And I see that, and I see it's almost like at the times where the time where people are not getting the support or not the views that they want, that would kind of make them happy, as where people kind of start to wonder, like, hey, should I really be doing this? And I guess that kind of goes back to you're saying you should find out your why and kind of know and fall back on why you're doing this. Keep crunching out numbers, numbers.
I remember the days, and I don't mean to cut you off because I'm gonna let you finish it.
Kanye,
I feel like Kanye. I'm gonna let you finish for a second. You know what I'm saying?
We both just
but
said
Docs
at the
Outside the
same
Box
time.
is the best podcast of all time. Right? But It's I forgot what I was gonna say.
Man, I got so caught up in this Kanye.
Right. Well, what I was gonna say is, dog, I remember when I first started, man. It was like 2 months before I got maybe 10 downloads, or even actually 20 downloads. The first 10 were mine because I kept re-listening to them.
Yeah.
Or when I would grab my mom's phone or my wife's phone, I was like, yo, re-listen to that.
Word.
So I remember that. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not at the point where I feel like I've arrived. I'm going through the process. I'm just willing to air my dirty laundry and be like, hey, listen, this is where I'm at. I'm going through this process. And, would I like to have more downloads? Yes. But also at the same time, do I enjoy just Dr. Wendell Cole contacting me through, Facebook Messenger and just saying, hey, I heard you in town. Would you mind meeting with me?
Right.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, my bad. Go ahead, man.
No, I don't even remember what I was I'm trying to think what I was saying now. I think you pretty much hit that on the head right there. As far as being at a moment in time where you're kind of not as satisfied with what you want, and that's one of the things I feel like we'll always want more.
Yeah.
No matter how you might have got 10, it's like, okay, I need to get to 50. Okay,
right.
I need to get to 100. Now 1,000. Now 1,000,000. So at one point, it's like we may never be satisfied, but that could be a good and a bad thing.
Right.
It kind of keeps you going.
Well, you're about to be a surgeon, so you're about to hear that concept of the enemy of what? The enemy is good, is better.
Is better.
Or more, so that's when you get into trouble, when you try to do something more, and you may end up getting that, hemoarthrosis or something like that. I'm just trying to liken it to orthopedics.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. You always want more, but you're not really enjoying what's going on in the present.
Right.
I always tell people who are trying to start out podcasting or whatever it is, you got to fall in love with the process before the prize.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is Convos with Cole is not going to look, 5 years from now, Convos from Cole is going to be nowhere near what it looks like now.
Right.
But the key thing is you can't worry about Convos and Cole 5 years from now. You got to worry about Convos and Cole right now. So every day you got to keep working on getting better and better and better and enjoying the process, enjoying when you make a mistake, or enjoying when you have a brain fart, when you asking that person a question, you're like, oh, man, I can't believe I went through that. Because that's going to keep you hungry. That's going to keep you coming back for more. And I still make mistakes. Man, we made mistakes on this episode right now.
Yeah.
I just keep doing it. This whole episode idea, we may end up getting 5 downloads.
Right.
But just the fact that I just think it's really important for other people to hear this conversation, even if it helps 5 people or 10 people, I'm set.
Right.
So that's what I want you to understand is, try to fall in love with, well, you already are, but fall in love with the process. Yeah. Enjoy that, and you'll see. Convos with Cole will be where you really want it to be, but it'll happen gradually.
Now, I also wanted to touch on, because recently you just launched a book on podcasting. What do you think some of the challenges were that you faced with launching your book? And if there's anything at this point now that you could go back and do different, what would you do?
Man, it was all mindset for me. I just was not the best writer. And when I say not the best, I was a good writer. English was fine for me. Grammar was okay for me. What I meant by that is it took me a long time to write, to be creative, to write. I was very much I just by the rules, wrote. And then I wasn't very creative. I didn't think of myself as a very creative person. So those were some of the mindset things that I had to get over. But, once I convinced myself that, hey, I have a lot to say about podcasting. I've done a lot of research in this. I feel like, I'm going through this process and people keep asking me about podcasting. I've helped people start their podcasts. Why not me? Why can't I write something about podcasting? So then I just started putting pen to paper. I was very consistent about it, writing about it at night. And then next year, I just said, I think I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. I still had a lot of self-doubt, and I talked about it during my video launch. I had a lot of self-doubt, but the key thing is I put it out there. I told my family, I told friends that, hey, I'm writing a book, and I kept it in their mind that I'm writing a book. And not only am I writing a book, then I need you guys to help, support me in this. And when I did my virtual book launch, I thought literally it was going to be crickets, but everybody showed up. Everybody showed up and stuff. And then next I was like Amazon bestseller.
Wow.
And when I tell people this, I just want people to know it's not me bragging. It literally is me telling you,
it's all
writing
part
a
of the
book
process.
It's all about the process, and it's all about anybody can do this. So if I can do it, you can do it. So that's why I try to document everything. I try to put it on the podcast and let people know, like, look, you guys think I may have this together. I don't. I'm going through this with you. I got demons. I got all these different things that, make me feel like I can't accomplish it, but I just push through.
Now let's go into some specifics for those listening that may be thinking about even writing their own book. How did you do it? Did you do self-publishing? Because I heard you say it was on Amazon. Was it ebook or a Kindle book? Like, how did you
go
Good
about question.
Publishing?
So mine, I went through a publishing company, and it wasn't that expensive. But at the same time, they made it really easy for me to at least get my book onto Amazon, make a Kindle version of it, as well as a paperback version of it.
Okay.
And from there, though, doing the publicity for it, doing a book launch, that was all on me. And that's where going through the process of having a professional coach helped me with that. So I'm very open and honest about that. Like, I have a professional coach who's helped me with these things, and I think that everybody should consider that if they're having a hard time starting, if they have failure to launch. So, like writing the chapters was just pretty simple once I got the formula and once I got the method. And I feel like I'm ready to write another book already. Yeah. My first book was short, but it's a quick guidebook so that as a resident or as an attending or a med student, you can put in your white coat,
right,
and you can learn just the quick, and easy ways of how to start a podcast. So that's the reason why I decided to do that. That's why I decided to go with that publishing company. I think maybe in the future I may go self-publishing because it's just so easy nowadays.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. And so you launched this book not too long ago. You're on Amazon. You top bestseller. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think about Actually, first, the question I wanted to ask is, how did you find a good coach? Like, well, how did you go about doing that? Because someone like me, I'm like, I don't know who to reach out to. Do I go on Upwork? Do I ask friends? Like, how did you find a good coach?
A coach. So that's a good question. So I happened to go with Dr. Dre, who's episode 3. I decided to go with him just because I saw the results. So I reached out to the people that he worked with in the past. As you know, he's very open. He uses social media a lot to kind of show the results of his clients.
Yeah, the clients.
And I looked at different coaches, and I just felt like for me, he would work really good for me. I just felt like he really understood what I was trying to do. I saw what he was able to do with other people, and I just kind of felt like this would be a really good match. Now, just for example, like my wife, she used another coach, and she was very happy with her, but she's not a physician. So, we were looking at different options, and I've just been very happy with his approach. I've been very happy with his system. And then for me, I really enjoyed the group coaching orientation or the group coaching type of structure. And I really enjoyed working with other people also. I learned a lot from my classmates also.
So that was another one of my questions. So what exactly do they coach you on? For somebody like me, I have really no idea. Like, is it hey, these are the deadlines, go ahead and meet these, or what type of value are they bringing to you?
Exactly. So that's the big thing. That's my biggest issue is I have a ton of ideas. I just don't know how to start. Or I have a whole bunch of ideas and I just get analysis paralysis.
Right.
So having a coach versus having a mentor are two separate things. I thought those were the same thing. A mentor is going to be like, hey, Dr. Coleman, I see what you're doing. You're doing great. You're going to start a podcast? Okay, awesome. You meet with this mentor maybe a month later. Oh, okay, you didn't start your podcast? That's cool, but I still like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas a coach would be like, okay, Dr. Cole, you're going to start a podcast? Well, I think a podcast can help you in X, Y, and Z. I would recommend that you put out maybe 3 or 4, every so often. And how about in a month or so, we talk again and we discuss your episodes and listen to your episodes and talk about it. That's 2 different things.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, in order for me to get value out of this coaching session, I need to already do 3. And he's going to review them or she's going to review them for me. And I'm going to actually get, critical, what's the word I'm looking for? But you're going to get
like
really good critical feedback from this. And that's what I felt like I needed. And that has really kind of pushed me from 0 to 60. I would do it again, man.
Man, okay. Yeah, I'm just taking mental notes here. And because, again, I think we're talking earlier, and I was telling you that I was thinking about doing a book, too. Well, not thinking about doing a book. I'm writing a book now. And I'm finalizing, some of those little, details as far as self-publishing versus using companies, and I'm looking at my funds as a fourth-year medical student about to move and start residency. And I'm like, I'm just kind of weighing different things out as to what I should use, what I shouldn't do. So any advice that you would have to somebody that wants to write a book, basically somebody in my position, somebody wants to write a book, hasn't written one before, and they are about to go upon this journey?
Stop listening to your demons. Write the book. Is that what you want to do?
Right, yeah.
Then write the book. But if you know that it's going to take away from you being a good resident, then you can't write it.
Right.
But it may be a process that you do over a couple of years or maybe over a couple of months. But if you can do that and it doesn't take away from your primary goal, which is to become an orthopedic surgeon, then yeah, why not?
Now,
this is your time. And if you have the passion to do it, you don't hold yourself back. There's going to be some times that if you really want this, there's going to be some times where you're going to have to write this book at 3 o'clock in the morning and then finish at 6 in the morning and jump into the shower and go straight to ortho rounds.
Yeah.
If you're serious about this, you're going to have to do this. Now, if it's getting to the point where you're like, you know what, I can't really do both, you may have to slow down. But I just think the biggest thing for you is stop telling yourself no and start saying why not.
Now, how long, or if there even was a gap, how long was it between the time that you actually finished the book and the time that you launched the book?
So once I finished my book, it took about a good 3 or 4 months, maybe a little bit longer, to go through the whole publishing thing where they did edits. We went through the process of deciding if we want pictures. Just give it a second. Yeah, can we just have 2 more of the same thing? You want the same thing?
Yeah, sure, thanks.
Yeah, we'll have 2 more of the same thing. Yeah, so went through the edits and then, the wording. We had to rewrite some things. The length, the cover. That took a little bit longer than I thought. And then the launch, occurred, but the launch was purely on me.
Right.
Which was, Facebook, which was obviously Instagram. I got people to help me with graphics. But I think that is so empowering now. If you think about it, like, dog, the gatekeepers are gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really need a publisher anymore to get your book out. You can self-publish. Or you can get someone who's not too expensive and still get really good, effects and still, do a virtual launch and do really well.
Right.
I mean, that's the key that I think you should understand. That's the key that I want everybody to understand. Like, if you want to build brand authority, if you want to be held in higher esteem in your society, if you want to get on TV, if you want to, you can get on YouTube now. You can do Twitch. You can do podcasts. You can write blogs. Like, the gatekeepers are gone. You don't need a publicist anymore.
Right.
So if you want to write a book, go ahead and write it. If you want to self-publish, you can do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've always been a person that has not believed in limits. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe you can put anything that you pretty much put your mind to, not to sound cliche, because I don't want to be like, oh, anything you put your mind to, you can do it. But
right.
it really is true. If you actually, internalize that, because I know there will be a lot of people that tell you that you probably shouldn't do something, that'll knock down your idea. And it's actually funny. One of the things that I was actually speaking to a high school not too long ago, we're going, it's like a career day thing, and somehow we got onto the word of no. And I was telling the students that the word no should almost be their best friend at this point.
Right.
I tell them to go out and find as many no's as you possibly can.
So basically just try to fail as much as possible, right?
Fail as much as possible, because then you'll start to realize failure isn't that bad. Failure, all you go back and you look and you see what you've done right, what you didn't do wrong, and you go back and attack at different things. And once you've failed, you're just not afraid to try. You're not afraid to try again. You're not afraid to do things. You're not afraid to just jump.
I love it.
You're not afraid to get out there and chase after what you really want. And a lot of people are just afraid to fail. And just getting over that fear, or the fear of disappointing somebody else when they say no, or fear of rejection at a young age can be a very powerful thing.
Oh, yeah. I love that point, man.
Yeah.
I love that point. I think if you can try to do your best to continue to, and that may be something for you, is to continue to talk to little kids and, kids who are in adolescence about, just because, at that age, it's all about trying to color within the lines, right?
Yeah.
But there are always those people who, for some reason they just go outside of the line, and they may be at that point realizing, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stay within the line? But then they don't understand that once you get past school, that actually being able to think outside the box or think outside the lines or color outside the lines is actually rewarded in this type of society, right? So I think that's a really good point for you to keep doing. And, I think that as physicians, we've played by the rules for so long, it's really hard to kind of think outside the box, to be a doc outside the box, because nobody, or at least you don't really see too many examples of doctors really thriving outside of the box, right?
Yeah.
If in essence, like, you'll probably have more physicians telling you, like, why are you doing a podcast? Why are you writing a book as a resident? You should be focused on, orthopedic surgery.
Right.
There's going to be more of those people than, pushing you to, hey, put that book out.
Yeah.
So what? Just put it out.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I actually wanted to ask you now. We're talking about doctors outside of the box. When you first started, or maybe at any time during your career, have you ever received, or what type of pushback have you received from maybe the public or maybe from other people that weren't necessarily seeing eye to eye with you?
You're going to be surprised by this. I've gotten, in essence, no negative feedback.
None.
Either I'm not listening, or literally, I'm telling you, everybody has been really positive about this. And that's why I've been trying to tell people, like, just go ahead and start. What's the big fear? When I did my episode Started from the Bottom, I put it out there that, I was really nervous about what people would say about me putting out a book. Like, who are you to put out a book? And everybody, including podcasters, other physician podcasters, have been mad supportive.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell people is, like, stop worrying about all these people who are going to say no. You'll be shocked. Probably nobody will say no, or nobody will be negative about against what you have to say. And if they are, who cares? Who gives a fuck? So what?
Yeah.
You got to do you. You really, like, nowadays it's like, you got to do you. Stop worrying about what other people got to say. Who cares? So for me, to be honest with you, I at first, the biggest impediment that I had to have looking back was me being able to tell people and be confident, yo, I'm Dr. Nee Darko. I'm host of Docs Outside the Box podcast. It's a podcast about ordinary doctors doing extraordinary things. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher Radio. I was so shy to say that. I'd just be like, well, I'm just doing this thing where it's just something on the side. It's just like, what you scared about? Just tell people that you host this podcast, and you think it's dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I totally get that, and I mean, that's great that you've heard nobody's come at you in a negative way, because, again, many times that we spoke, a lot of people might try to limit you or stifle you or say that you can't do this and you can't do that. But I mean, that's great to see that you've done this, gotten to the point where you're at now, and you still continue going. So I guess the question I have for that is, I see now at this point you have people coming up to you to want to be guests on the show, but at the beginning, how did you find guests to be on your show?
So I found guests through my network. So, I was, in organizations, student organizations, and I just got lucky that the people that I knew in these student organizations or just friends in general were really doing really amazing things. If you look at, like, the first 10 people I had on the show, these are people that I knew personally, except for, like, one or two. And I said, man, you're doing amazing things. I need to get that on. I need to record you talking about this. But you got to remember, back then I didn't have really a website. I had a show that didn't have much downloads. I didn't even know how to really do social media for it. So that's me coming up to people and saying, hey, why don't we record something and through Skype, and I'm going to put it out. And they go to the website, and it's just like this regular crazy whack, like 1990 version of a website. So I got to give them props because they supported me when I didn't have a pedigree. So that's why I decided to start off with just my friends first, people who I knew, and then from there I decided to expand. And, I contacted, like, the White Coat Investor. He said yes. I contacted, other people, and I said, hey, would you want to be on the show? They said, yeah. And then from there I was like, I'm on to something here. People want to talk about what they're doing. People enjoy listening. Let me just keep going. And I just kept going, and I'm going to keep going, and I know that my first 50 episodes are not going to be that good. Maybe my first 100 episodes won't be good, but I'm just going to keep at it. gonna keep at it.
Yeah.
But my man, this was good, man. This was good. This was good. So we got to do this again, though, man. All right.
We got to do it again. I'm always open for it. If you ever want to be a guest on my podcast, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Tell the audience how they can learn about your podcast, how they can get, how they can go to the website, things like that, man.
Yeah. So if you want to check out the podcast, guys, I highly suggest you do. You can go to www.convoswithcole.com. You'll be literally directed right to the podcast page. You can click on it. You can also just put in Convos with Cole. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, as well as Libsyn. So all those audios you can check out. And soon we will be going to, what's the name of it? You said it earlier today. Spotify.
We got to get you on YouTube also.
Yeah, you got to get me on YouTube as well. So you can also follow me on social media at I am Dr. Cole. It's just IAMDRCOLE. That's going to be Facebook, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn and Twitter. So feel free to reach out to me, send me a message. If you just want to connect, I'm always open to it.
That's what's up, man. Thanks again, man.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.